leave this post.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Think Big podcast every Tuesday. Um, we have our fellows co-hosts over here, Mindset Marlin, Sam Singh, myself, Alejandro Alvarez, and Daryl should be joining us here shortly. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about consistency. If you feel lazy, if there's days that you just don't understand why are you so lazy, why you keep watching TV, watching Netflix, and not becoming rich and successful, well, you are in the right episode today, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. For those who's here on time, thank you so much for showing some love. And I want to say hi to my co-host here. How you doing, Mr. Marlin?
What's going on, Alejandro? I was just letting people on IG know that they should be coming over to the YouTube channel. So I got my IG live running right now, but I'm excited, man. This is episode 25, and it's this week on staying consistent. So it's crazy to see. It's crazy to believe that we're 25 episodes in. That's 25 weeks of consistently showing up for the show, no matter what, even when Daryl has no Wi-Fi because he's running on like a 1997 Windows, like I don't even know Windows Vista out there or Windows 98. But I'm excited for tonight's episode, bro.
Yes, sir.
He's on that dial-up. Remember back in the day where you had to there was like a dial tone that had to go up. I think that's what that is. But dude, I got to say, man, there's gonna be days where we drop tons of like real estate game and business game and show people how to do all the money making things, right? That's really important. I think for me, and I say this selfishly, the consistency days, the mindset days, I feel like these are actually the secrets are here. The secrets are on these days. Because one thing that I've realized, guys, is business is actually it's a lot simpler than people think it is. And half the game, probably more than half the game, is actually just showing up every single time. So I'm excited about this one.
Love it.
You know what's crazy? Before we jump into that, the crazy part is I love that Sam's like, yo, the mindset stuff is tough part, but the business stuff is the hard stuff. I'm like, yo, on the business days, I'm low key sitting here with my notebook, just taking notes from Sam. When it's sales day, I'm just when you guys talk, I'm taking notes on your stuff, which is low key crazy. People sometimes think that this show is about the audience, and it is for the audience, but it's also just as equally for us. These are the sort of conversations we're having offline as well.
Oh no, I'm being completely honest. For me, this has nothing to do with the audience. This is me being selfish. I'm completely selfish. I'm here, and it's so funny, right? You take notes. I don't. I hate note taking. What do? I focus on before we get onto this call, I focus on being mentally available and ready and present to receive what you two specifically dish out, right? Because your guys' focus, right? Alejandro's focus, right? And I mean that specifically, his focus. Marlon's clarity. You have to be ready to receive these things for them to actually have an impact on you. So it's so funny. Before we get on to these podcasts, a lot of times I'll just sit here for a couple of minutes. I'm just okay, everything that happened today, just forget it and focus on being ready to absorb like a sponge. So, dude, you're 100% right. We do this for the crowd. We do. We love you guys. Everyone who's watching, we absolutely love you. I'm be completely honest. Selfishly, I actually am now at a point where I love showing up for these just so I can take from these guys, my amazing co-hosts. So, Alejandro, consistency, man. Consistency is really, I would say consistency is simple. It is actually a simple thing, but it is not easy, right? And as someone who I believe is astronomically consistent, I mean, do you agree with that statement, or do you think it's super complicated? What do you think,
bro? Honestly, the journey to becoming consistent, it is not easy, but it's very simple. Once you achieve and you go through that journey, it now becomes simple, almost to where it feels weird not to be consistent. So you are 100% correct, Sam. You're 100% correct. What is up, Mr. Daryl? How are you?
What's up, bro?
I see you with the champion belt there, man. You want to elaborate? What's that beautiful thing on your shoulders?
Just how I'm feeling, man. So honestly, so where this really came from, I won roommate of the week in our house. I got the champ medal. I got the champ medal, baby. But this, I'm just feeling like the people's champ.
Yo, Daryl, bro, you're making it look like the mindset man who doesn't pay for Wi-Fi. Yeah, like this guy's killing me. We're looking about to have Daryl just like operate off his like phone.
Yeah, I don't get how y'all live in the same place, and then Marlon, you never have connection issues, but Daryl's over here freaking on like a goddamn BlackBerry phone from back in 2005.
Bro, yeah, it's bad, man. Like, and he tries to say like it's the Wi-Fi. I'm like, it's not the Wi-Fi at this point. All right, and there goes Daryl. So I guess we're continuing. But Daryl, you might need to come downstairs and come onto my computer, bro.
All right. Well, Daryl figures out what the hell he's doing with his life. Okay. Alejandro, let's lead us in, brother.
Bro, let's go, man. You know, today I was watching someone that's been really popping up in my my feeds, my YouTube feed, because I watch Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, and some other similar people in the industry like Alex Hormozy, but Matthew McConaughey's been popping up in my feed, and I heard this quote he said in I'm not sure I'm going to say it correctly, but pretty much what he was saying is people talk about finding yourself. He phrases that by saying finding out who you are not. So if you think about it, he said life it's all about disqualifying and finding who you are not. And I listened to that, and I think that's a way easier, and I guess a little bit. It sounds more achievable than saying find yourself, because to tell someone find yourself, bro, like how do they know where to start?
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell someone find out who you're not, well, you can start today, and you can do that by finding out who you are surrounded by. Do you want to be like that friend that go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning? Maybe not. Maybe you want to be that friend. So you're not that person. So you're a step closer to finding who you are. Right? Do you want to be that friend that has no filter and just makes every conversation awkward? No. And hey, you're a little bit step closer to finding out who you are and who you are not. So that was pretty cool. I didn't finish the whole episode, but it's with him and Ed Milet, and Matthew McConaughey is a really cool individual. I'm going to read his book. Ed Milet recommends to get the Audible as well because he has an amazing voice. So I'll take on that. But really quick, I want to ask a few questions. I want to get you guys involved while I say these things. Marlon, what do you feel so far where you are in your journey, in personal life, business life? Wouldn't you say it was easier to find out who you are by going through all these mistakes? And how do you feel about that quote?
Yeah, bro. So I love that. I would say it is easy. Like it's really interesting actually. As you were saying that, I found myself sitting and thinking that idea of finding out who you are by essentially figuring out who you're not. We do this often, and I'm gonna just use my own life as an example and just kind of share with people something that I started to pick up on, because when I was getting into this entrepreneur life, when I was getting into personal development and wanting to grow myself, I was coming from a friend group that was always wanting to smoke, always wanting to drink, always wanting to go to the bars, kind of work Monday through Friday. After work, you go out for happy hour. On the weekends, you go out and you get blackout drunk and you try and pick up girls. And it was just like, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, it was fun. Right. But also the beginning for me, it was like I started doing that stuff when I was like 18 years old, 17 years old. I'd take my brother's his ID and use it as my ID. And I'd go into the bars and the clubs and all that good stuff. And after some time, I started to realize this wasn't for me. I can start to gain this pattern recognition of recognizing that at the end of doing this, I only ever felt regret. I never felt like, wow, I'm so happy I went out Saturday night and got fucked up. I'm so happy I went out and, drank till I couldn't remember. And at some point, I started to really understand this. I don't yet know what I want. I'm just being honest. I didn't know what I wanted fully yet, but I knew that it wasn't this, that this wasn't fulfilling, that this life wasn't the life. And that actually was enough of a disruptor. It was enough of a wake-up call to push me into a different direction. And I think sometimes we want that clear, like, aha, eureka, epiphany moment of I'm laying on the clouds and it all just hits me and I just know with absolute certainty what my life is supposed to be about. Sometimes that's not the process. And in fact, most times that's not the process. It usually starts with just recognizing clearly that it's not this. This isn't for me. The bad behavior, being overweight, being, not having enough money, not having any control of my life, not having any control of my situation, just knowing clearly that what you're currently doing isn't producing the results. So I love that idea of like recognizing that this isn't for me starts that process of finding out what is.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that, man. What are your thoughts, Sam?
I think to sum it up, everything starts with clarity, right? Everything starts with clarity. And the reality is you get more intrinsic internal clarity by learning what you aren't. And this is why I love hanging around with people who shine in things that I don't shine in. And there is such a tremendous power in just disagreeing with people. Like I look at the way Marlon does a lot of things. There's a lot of things that Marlon does. I respect everything about it. I respect his reasoning. I understand why he does it. I understand why he operates this way. They're all phenomenal ways to operate. But what I realize, it's their tried and true, not the way that I want to do things, because we're just two different people. And when I see him operate, and here's the power, right? There's a lot of power in understanding, like Marlon's point, seeing in your circle who lives the life that you don't want to live because you think it's irresponsible, it's stupid, it's self-destructive, it's all of these bad things. There's also a power to surrounding yourself with people who do things differently, and it's not negative at all, just to disagree with how they do them. Right? We're in sales. We look at other closers. Closers have different closing styles, right? There are closers who love being super, super rough. There's closers who love being super nuanced. There is no right or wrong. Sometimes there is just a power in seeing what you resonate with at your core, right? Because you'll find out through resonance whether there is friction, and that friction doesn't mean that they're bad, doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that there's something about that you don't have synergy with. And understanding, this is one critical thing, guys, understanding why there is friction. A lot of people will feel the friction and they will jump to this ridiculous freaking conclusion. It'll be a negative conclusion 9 times out of 10, right? It'll be a negative conclusion 9 times out of 10. I don't agree with how Marlon did this, and it's because Marlon is an idiot. Marlon isn't doing enough business. Marlon is XYZ. Some negative thought. That's human nature to put negative input into it. A lot of times there's just power and clarity in understanding Marlon's doing it this way because his life experiences and his journey have resulted in him having this thought process. I have a different life. I have different experiences. I'm on a different journey, and I may be in a different season of this journey. And because of that, we've come to different conclusions and different modalities of operating. And there is nothing right or wrong about how either of us work or operate. I think that for me, it's not just understanding that you disagree with someone's behaviors or actions or thought processes. It's understanding why there's a difference. And I'll take it one level further. We're going like inception level. It's understanding that the difference is actually okay. That's something that for me in life was always kind of that was a hard fought, hard won journey in terms of understanding myself as a human being, because I come from an industry where we basically only operated around really horrible people. There's no way around it. We operated on people who honestly but very often had really bad intentions in life, right? They just only sought to do harm to others. So it made me have a negative and honestly a cynical outlook on other people. getting into this industry, I came into this industry with that mindset. And it's something that I've had to retrain and re-understand that, holy crap, there are different ways to do this. And the fact that there are different ways to do this is actually an extremely powerful thing, because the more different ways of doing this I can gather and observe and analyze, the more I understand who I want to become.
Damn.
Wow. That's an amazing answer, Sam.
Sure.
Okay, good. I didn't just totally guess that one. But no, that's honestly, it's an interesting thing, guys. Now I'm on this kind of journey where I'm like, how many more different perspectives can I get?
Yeah.
I honestly, I am sick and tired of echo chambers.
Bro.
Echo chambers do very little for personal growth. And this is what I've realized. I look at Alejandro. Alejandro goes about his work differently than I do. Marlon sees the best in every human being around him. And this is something that I've had to retrain my mind to do, because I come from an industry where we didn't do that. In fact, we had to, out of self-preservation, only see the worst in human beings, right? I look at guys like my mentor, Pace Sporty, and I see what he does. And a lot of times I disagree with how giving he is sometimes. And I've learned that he does it for a very specific reason, and it has resulted in such greatness in him. And now I'm realizing there's so much more power in just finding different ways of doing things. And the cool thing is this: whenever I feel that friction, right, I've identified that this person's way of doing things is actually challenging a foundational belief of mine, and not reacting negatively to it, but then going into a phase where we then go into kind of like analysis. Why do I feel the friction? Why do I feel a challenge? Is it a good challenge? Is it a bad challenge? And I think by doing this, you start asking yourself ridiculous levels of introspective questions that help you grow. I'll shut up now.
Right.
I'll go back to you.
Facts.
Dude, you're spot on. Like your answers are spot on, and it's funny. Like I want to pass this back to Alejandro, because I think he's about to ask another amazing question. I just want to add in with that, over the weekend, I found myself sitting down. Many of people know, like, I do some different things on the weekend. I'm speaking at different events, things of that nature. And this weekend I happened to be speaking at another event, and I was listening to a handful of people's stories. And by sitting down and taking time, actually caring about their story, actually listening and finding out who they are and where they're coming from, it helped to gain new perspective on how other people see the world. Because I couldn't help but understand my own life and my own situation even more through total strangers. It's absolutely amazing. Phenomenal. But I'm going to pass this back over to Alejandro, because like you're sparking some crazy, like some Deepak Chopra. Like, these are some deep questions, man.
Well, that's it, bro. I wanted to I was going to ask you to say what you were going to say, because I know you, when you get excited, you raise your hand. You like, huh, wait a minute.
He does it. He goes like this. He leans back and he's just like, boom. And I'm like, that's Marlon having an epiphany right there. All right, sorry, continue.
All good, man. So yeah, I feel like that's a very important important thing to do whenever you're wanting to create some consistency. And this is why I mentioned that, because how can you create consistency if you're not proud of who you are going to become? How? So, like, for me, when I wanted to start my consistency, there was a reason for that. The reason for that is because I disqualify everything I went through in life. I disqualify everything that I not want to do anymore. And the only thing that was left is to me get myself in solitude. And again, this is just for me. Doesn't mean you have to go in solitude. But I said, F everyone, F everything I'm surrounded by. It's just not working. It's not working. And the only thing I had left to do was to go find a better version of myself, because the person I was, and I think I spent 5 years being the same person. And that was enough for me to say, nah, I don't want to be that person anymore. The guy that would go out drinking, the guy that would go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, not provide, like, it just wasn't for me, right? And I just had enough. It was just one day I don't know. I think when I was doing 75 hard, I looked at the picture and I was 215 pounds.
Wow.
And I usually was around 180, 190, shredded, had, tone. And I'm like, man, who is this guy? Who is this guy? I felt like I didn't know the guy. And, maybe that was just me being blinded by all the alcohol I was drinking. And I just didn't know the person I was becoming by doing so. So, finding who you want to become, it's a very important factor in creating consistency, because you can't be consistent if you're not excited about the future, So it's really difficult to do that, but if you don't know who you want to become. And I mean that in the most respectful way. So for me, it's like, you got to ask yourself, who are you right now? And are you doing everything that's possible to become who you want to become? And if you don't have an answer for that, then I suggest that's the first thing you should do for homework. Go figure out who you want to become. Who is that guy that your wife or your husband is going to look up to? When they wake up in the morning, who are they going to smile at? Who are they going to be happy about? Who do you want to be? Who do you want your kids to look up to when they grow up? That's some deep thinking. You got to think about that. Right. And that's a journey. That's not something you're just going to figure out. But at least if you know a little bit of who you want to become, then you can know the first step, the first, 5 steps to take to get there. And you'll continue growing and growing and growing, just like any regular human that's looking to develop themselves. You're going to continue growing. There's some things that I do today that I didn't know I could have done 2 years ago. So that's the first one. That's the first homework. Figure out who you want to be. And then the next few things here is prioritize your goals. You have to prioritize your goals. I think, I don't know if maybe it was Warren Buffett. I think Alex Hormozy said something about Warren Buffett about write down about all the 20 goals you have or the 10 goals you have, delete everything and keep about 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I think he said write down 25 of them and the order of importance, and only keep the top 5 and then delete everything else.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So that would be.
I feel people just like, I can literally feel people just like, oh my God, like what?
Yeah, bro.
Like they're
Exactly,
scared,
man.
They're scared to lose, like just even letting go of the idea of something. They're scared to let go, which is a scarcity mindset. If you think about it, I'm gonna let you keep going. Like that in and of itself is a whole conversation. But I'm gonna let you keep going, man.
Yep. Thank you, bro. And I'm just saying that's really important things to think about, man, because if you're focusing, I want this nice car, I want this house, I want to make X amount a month, I want to travel. Let's prioritize. First of all, we can't do any of that without money. So you need to prioritize where you gain your income from. That's the first thing. You need to set your foundation correctly. You can't go get a nice car without money. So you need to figure out what system is going to produce you that income that you need or you're looking for. Like real estate, bro. Like we're all in real estate, and I'm pretty sure Marlon, Sam, we acquire properties and we acquire it differently. We even think differently on what we're going to do with those properties. But I do it the way that I enjoy, what I consider fun and exciting. And Marlon, you do it your way. I'm sure, Marlon, you acquire properties a way that, when you talk to someone, they're like, wow, really? And you're like, well, what are you doing differently? And guess what? You guys are still going towards the same goal, which is acquiring properties. But you need to find out how exactly do you want to do that? There's so many ways to do so. And here's the easiest way to figure that out. It's go be around someone that's already doing it. Right? You can read books, you can watch YouTube videos, but YouTube will never show you the mechanics of it. YouTube will never tell you how should you deal with this current emotion that you're going through right now. Right? You need to ask a friend, a fellow friend that's doing, someone that's already in the business. Yo, man, these tenants are not paying. What do I do? You evict them. Well, okay. Well, what are the mechanics behind evicting someone? Search that on YouTube. How do you deal with your emotions? What do you do? What if you think that person is a great person? Do you want to evict them? Right? Like those are little hard things that nobody talks about. And they don't, because you have to be closer to that circle. So what are your thoughts on that type of stuff, Sam? Just like getting closer to someone that's doing what you want to do, because you need to understand the emotions behind that and the mechanics behind that.
Dude, you're 100% right. The reality is nothing will supplement getting around people who are actually doing what it is you want to do. There's no way around it. I love the idea of battle buddies. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's fantastic. I think it's also one of the most overrated ideas out there. I think there is a greater power in being around people who are actually a chapter or two ahead of you, not the people who are on the same plane. Because what ends up happening is, you feel like, there's this resonance of being in the same place, and there's comfort to that, right? But I think in tricky times, we look for comfort and not for growth. And I think Marlon said this, maybe it was last week, but or during hacking mindset, said something to the effect of, during a time of hardship, our minds, they go to their default, and the default is what's comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So I actually think you're completely right. Right now, for anyone who's getting into this industry, your number one focus shouldn't be on, like, don't get me wrong, you need friends. You need friends who are at where you're at, right? It feels good. But I think your priority should be getting around people who are actually transacting, because they're the ones where you will feel uncomfortable. They will make it very clear, just by being in their presence, you will be reminded day in and day out that you don't know 99% of the things that you probably should know.
Yeah.
But what happens is, just through osmosis alone, you will learn almost everything that you need to get to the next chapter, to the next season. So, and as far as the logistical stuff, man, I mean, like, look at, guys, we have our own group. We have our own group thread, and we're like, just, what was it, yesterday, or was it today or yesterday? We Daryl put in a question, or it was you or me, someone put in a question about an extremely complicated logistical thing. Basically, if we're trying to wrap a deal, and instead of sub to assign it, how do we ensure this one little tiny nuance? We all agreed that it could be done, but now it's like, okay, let's see who can actually go and figure out how to execute on this one tiny micro logistical issue. And those type of conversations are the things that actually make deals go through. And you can't have them unless you're surrounded by the right people. And I want to tie this back into consistency. If you're a newbie, guys, when we try to create growth in something or try to achieve something, we need something to model after, right? If you're coming from a W-2 life, your day is structured around, performing in your day-to-day tasks. In entrepreneurship, you create your own schedule. And if you've never done that before, you don't know how to be consistent in this game, because you don't have someone to model after. So this is why it's critical to get around people who are transacting, because in the beginning, what you shouldn't really focus on too, like, you should focus on growing and educating and learning the business. But there's also a power to getting around someone who is operating and doing things you want to do, to see how they remain consistent. I would actually not just model after their knowledge and their expertise. I would actually also model after how they schedule things, how they time block, how they stay on track, and then see if it's something I resonate with, see if it's something I like. And if it is in the beginning, I will adopt that wholeheartedly. I think you guys and I would agree. Would it not be amazing for the season that we're all in, for us to see how Alex Hermosi doesn't do business, but how he time blocks his calendar and what reasoning he has behind it, just for maximum consistency?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be worth, and I know to me that'd be worth at least $100,000, right? To see how one of the best in the industry remains consistent. So when you get around these bigger circles, it's not just to learn the micro logistical transactional things that we're gonna learn inevitably. Pick up on consistency.
Yeah.
this all just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Which is me saying, guys, we're coming in here. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about sales. We'll talk about all the stuff. But I'm coming in here now at this point just to learn and model mindset, model focus, model clarity after you guys. Marlon, what's up?
Well, you know what? I want to add to this, right? Because the answer is so freakishly clear, and I want people to not overthink this, where consistency, and you guys tell me if you agree with this, a huge part of consistency is saying no. Right? The reason people are falling off on the consistency, myself included, like I'm going to throw myself under the bus. Like I'm not going to throw anyone else under the bus. Anytime I've ever fallen off on my consistency is because I've said a yes to way too many things, way too many people. I overextended myself, and then I didn't have the energy left to take care of my own stuff. Just being 100% honest. Like it wasn't because my stuff was too much. It was because I took on too much that prevented me from taking care of my responsibilities. Right? Like there's 24 hours in a day. You knew that. Everyone knows that. No one's like caught off guard when I say, yo, there's 24 hours on Tuesday, there's 24 hours on Wednesday, there's 20. Wait, what? No one's caught off guard on that. We all know how much time there is in a day. It's when we start saying yes to things that we should have said no to because we didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. We got to get over that. It's 2023. Get over that.
Ooh.
Bro, I say no to myself all the time.
It's important.
It's very important.
Alejandro, straight up, like you helped me with my consistency. Like seeing how consistent you are, and to Sam's point, and to your point, going and being around those people, whether it's in person, which is the best, obviously, or whether it's your online, your digital environment. If your attention is on your phone 24/7, well, who are you talking to? Are you talking to other drifters? Are you talking to other people who aren't producing? Are you talking to other people who don't get after it, who don't do what they say they were going to do? Or are you talking to the people, like I'm talking to Alejandro, I'm talking to Sam, I'm talking to Daryl, or I'm not talking to anybody. The phone's in do not disturb mode. Like Daryl saw it today. Daryl came and knocked on my door. Daryl, how long was I in my room today?
All day.
The whole day. I was locked in here just working all day. Just being focused because that's what I said I was going to do. Saying no to everything else. It's freaking important. Like, yo, you Alejandro, Sam, Daryl, y'all all know. I know Daryl, you know this person. Y'all know David Goggins, right?
For sure.
Yep.
You guys heard about his accountability mirror?
No.
I did. I heard a few podcasts though. They're pretty straightforward.
Yo, it's straightforward. He has something called the accountability mirror, and it's real simple. It's the mirror in your bathroom. It's the mirror in your home. It's the reflection you see. It's when you look in that mirror and you see yourself. Are you proud of the person you see? Like me and Daryl were having this conversation because some people, we all want the results, but like, do you deserve the results? Period. He would look in that mirror when he was 300 plus pounds. And he was just like, yo, I'm going to be real with the man I see in the mirror. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm not a worthy man because I'm not taking care of this body. I'm not utilizing my potential. And he would call himself out on it. Now, he would say it in harsher words because he wasn't sugarcoating it. See, right now, I think we want to be nice to people and we try to sugarcoat the message. And forgive me if my energy is a little aggressive right now because that's just where it's at today. But we try to sugarcoat the message for each other to be nice and to be kind. It's not helping. If you're out of shape, you're out of shape. If you're not making the calls, you're not making the calls. If you're spending your money like a jackass, sorry, you're spending your money like an idiot. Start doing the behavior. Start saying no to the bad behavior. You already know what they are. You're not 12 years old anymore. Like to the audience that's listening, y'all aren't little kids. You say you want to be treated like a man, you want to be a grown man, well, do what grown men do. Handle your business. Say no to the distractions. Let me list some of the distractions for you. Scrolling on social media aimlessly looking at garbage. Sitting on YouTube watching more content, getting the answer and not implementing it. Right? Like tonight, y'all are going to get the answer. Then go use it. Don't just sit and continue to take more of it. Knowing that you have to have a hard conversation with someone, but avoiding making the phone call. That's a distraction. Make the call. Initiate it. Put it on the calendar. Take a time to put together a list of all the things you're doing that are preventing you from being consistent in the areas that you want to be. Make that list. And just like Alejandro and Sam said, the 25 goals, I want you to make the list of the 25 things you need to stop doing. Right? Like Daryl did this. I'm proud of Daryl. Daryl did this with his weight and his exercise and his body. Like the transformation Daryl's had with his body is insane. Because he looked in the accountability mirror one night and he said, I don't like what I see. He said,
I like them torpedo tits, dog.
Homie had torpedo tits. That's what it was. He did something about it. Yo, we all got to do the same thing. We got to look ourselves in the accountability mirror. Because if you think someone's going to come and save you, if you think someone's going to rescue you from your own life, you're mistaken. You're going to be sitting waiting for a very long time. There is no knight riding in on a white horse. You are the hero to your journey. I'm not your hero. Alejandro's not your hero. Sam's not your hero. Daryl's not your hero. Your dad's not your hero. Your mom's not your hero. Your grandma, your neighbor, Pace Morby, Grant Cardone. None of these people are your hero. You are your hero. If there's anything you take away, like when I look at Alejandro, I see it. This man's not waiting. He doesn't wait for me. Alejandro gets his ish together whether I do or not. And that inspires me to want to get my ish together. When I fall off, it inspires me to stand back up. There's nothing wrong with falling down, but don't stay down. Don't stay down.
Facts.
So there's something that I've been, Marlon, you and I have talked about this. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. There is such a power to not just saying no, right? You don't just say no just to say no. You have to say no to understand. You have to understand why you're saying no, right? There are, like to your point, there are only 24 hours in the day. And when there's only 24 hours in the day, you have to understand that there are certain hours of the day where you are more potent than others. There are truly, I firmly believe this. I think that we probably only per day have about maybe 2 to 4 hours where we are at our most potent, where our brains are at their highest level, where we can truly move the needle, not an inch, but a mile. You have to ask yourself, are you setting up those 2 to 4 hours, right? Those remaining 20, 22 hours a day, are you setting up to perform at your peak level? Look at Olympic athletes. So next week, actually, I think later this week, on my podcast, The Origin Story, we're going to interview a professional snowboarder who is getting ready to compete in the next Olympic Games. He's already medaled in the X Games. Now he's going to compete in the next Olympic Games, okay, which is phenomenal. Do you think he trains all day just to be able to perform all day? Like, yes, they do. But the reality is when the lights are on, the TV's on, when the cameras are pointed at him during the Olympic Games, when he's going for gold, he's got a tiny little window to perform, right? And whether or not he performs there is not dependent on him right then and there. It's dependent on what he spent the rest of the 23 hours of the day doing. So, Marlon, I have to commend you, man, because, and it's kind of ironic, you're wearing the Dealmaker weekend hat. And you and I were there, and we talked about joining the mentorship. We talked about joining that program because it is a phenomenal program. You will make tons of money doing it. And then you even told me, it's like, yeah, I'll probably get in it if I can get a great deal. I'll probably reserve my spot. But I know no matter what, I am not going to even give mental bandwidth to it until I get through the shit that I need to get through right now. And the fact that you told me that in the moment while they were trying to sell everybody on that, you showed remarkable levels of resilience to that, right? Because the entire room, it's geared at trying to get you to be able to do one thing they want you to do. And then you remain steadfast in knowing that, hey, I understand this is a phenomenal opportunity. I'm still going to, not right now. And some of the most powerful things is this, guys. It's not just saying, you have to understand this. In order to succeed in anything, you don't just have to say no to the wrong things. It also means you're going to have to say no to some of the right things. Because just because they're right doesn't mean they're right now. Mm-hmm. And that delayed gratification is tough. If I told everyone here, I have a surefire way for you to make 20 grand next month, and I can prove it to you. And I probably can. it doesn't mean you should do it. And to the point, like, I know, we've all been to a point where we've, hired from the various communities that we're in. You guys want to know one of my biggest filters for how I hire and who I bring into elevated positions in my ecosphere? Like, I have a guy, Cody, guys, when we started this Think Big podcast, right? A sub-2 student named Cody Rose brought me a deal. And we talked about it. We just closed it. It was a hybrid in Tampa. We give him a lot of love in the beginning of this podcast. He showed that he just remained steadfast in his focus and his determination to do what's immediately in front of him and nothing else. And I realized he had no distractions. He had a strong focus in what he's doing. He is now my lead sales director of my company, right? Went from us javing a deal together to me to being a lead sales director of my company, where he's pretty much on pace to be doing 5 to 7 deals per week. That's tons. That's hundreds of deals on an annual basis, right? There's such a power to that. One of my biggest filters, guys, at this point, when people come to me and say, Sam, I want to work for you, one of my big filters is, do I see you on a million different Zooms based on a million different topics? Mm-hmm. Do I see you learning about sober living and then assisted and then Airbnb? And now you're in a multifamily mentorship, but now you want to buy businesses all within the span of 30 damn days. That shows me that you're not a consistent human being. And I know this because guess what? I used to be that guy. I thought I needed to learn it all. Now I've learned that the most powerful thing we can do is actually, to Marlon's point, is just say no. And this, Hermosi says this. A lot of times we need to stop looking, we need to stop going out there to try to find a new answer to a problem. We just have to sit down and do the shit that we know we need to do, but we refuse to do it. It's actually that simple. Like, who would have thought? Daryl, I want to hear from you, man, because you're a guy who, before you and I met, right? And I've known you for a good while now. Your consistency now is great, probably greater than you've ever had in your life. Right? So you had to undergo a massive transition from being a relatively inconsistent performer. And I remember you were doing well in business, but it wasn't consistent. Right? But I look at you now with fitness. Let me ask you this first and foremost. Has your consistency in fitness affected your consistency in business as well?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, bro.
Now I want to know, like, why is that? What's going on? Because you are massively thriving in business right now, and what's crazy is that you're just getting started.
I think one of the main things is knowing where you're coming from and knowing where you want to go, right? Like, if you don't clearly know exactly where you're looking to go and why you want to go there, there's no reason why you'll be consistent, right? Like, this is something that Logan actually, our good friend Logan, your podcast co-host actually taught me was, if you have a goal and you're either running from something or you're running towards something, right? And if you don't have those clearly defined, you're just gonna sit there, right? So when I made the goal to get to 170 pounds, Logan actually had me create a reward for myself and a consequence for myself if I don't get this done. And all three of you know about it because I sent all three of you the video message. You guys are probably like, what the hell? Like, this is super random, right? And what it was telling me, if I reached 170 pounds and have a six-pack, visible six-pack, then I get to treat myself to a week in Jamaica. But if I don't, then I have to donate $10,000 to a socialist party. I need to shave my head bald, and I need to eat a plate of chitlins. And I don't know if everybody knows what chitlins are, but they're pig intestines, and it's freaking disgusting. And I would never, right? So the main thing, right, is if you're not going towards something, if you don't have like a clear defined goal and a clear defined destination, how can you stay consistent? It just makes no sense. And I think that's one of the main points and main things that I have been remembering, and one of the main things that have kept me consistent over these past 6-7 months.
Bro, I love that because I'm gonna echo that for a second because the consistency found in one area, good habits have a way of attracting others. Like
Fact.
attracts like. This is why, like, the four of us, we're on a screen together. Like, I get to call Alejandro, Sam, and Daryl my brothers because we all decided that in our own lives, we're going to go after it. We're going to go get better. We're going to earn more money. We're going to take care of our families. We're going to chase after our dreams and make it a reality. So we started to attract each other into our lives. Your good habits, your consistent moments do the same. Last night, I was talking to Caroline because it was 10 o'clock. We had finished playing cash flow board game, and I was having a rough day yesterday. Terrible sleep, a lot of work. Like I woke up to like contractors not doing what they're supposed. Just everything that could go wrong was going wrong, and I was just dead tired. 10 o'clock rolls around, and I'm like, Caroline's like, all right, I'm going to bed. I say I got to go for my run. She's like, dude, it's 10 o'clock. Like, just do your run in the morning. Like, if you go and run now, you're not going to go to sleep until it's too late. I said, I have to go for my run. Why? Because it was a promise I made to myself. See, some of the other things in my life are preferences, but then there are some things that are promises. And the promises don't get broken.
Yeah.
Promises can't get broken. And what's interesting is that promise of that commitment of my runs. I haven't missed a run in probably like 8 months now. I haven't missed a single run in about 8 months.
Hmm.
And out of all those runs, maybe 70% of them I did not want to do. However, something about it has been callousing my mind. Something about it has been helping me show up to get work done, been helping me not just show up, but stay in focus, stay engaged. I'm excited about becoming the sort of man that continues to keep the promises he makes to himself. I'm excited about being able to make bigger promises. So I want to pass this back over to Alejandro.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Marlon? Someone like yourself that work out like crazy every day. Do you feel that it's possible to be mentally healthy without being physically healthy?
In the past, Alejandro, I would have said yes. The truth is, though, based on my new definition, I don't think so. I think what happens is we get used to a substandard. We get used to a substandard, right? Like we trick ourselves into thinking we're operating efficiently. But I truly do not believe that if your body is outside of like serious medical conditions, I'm talking like outside of like your body literally just not being able to function. If your
Hmm.
body has the capability and the capacity to function, you can move it. Even if there is pain, you have the ability to work through it. It's your responsibility to work through it, to fix it, and to get it operating optimally because it's connected to the mind. It's a mind-body connection. If
Hmm.
one is suffering, the other will follow.
Right.
If one is doing well, it will feed and support the other as well. It's important. It's kind of like asking, can someone be good in business, but like go back home and treat their family awful? I think eventually like you can put on the show for a little while, but eventually it's going to bleed over your home life and your outer life. Eventually they come colliding if they're not in alignment. So your mind and your body will eventually collide if they're not moving in the same direction. I truly believe that.
I truly do believe that as well, man. Because I do have a lot of friends that don't work out as much, and they get sick pretty often, bro.
Bro.
They get sick pretty often, and when you're sick, your mind is like in so foggy, like everything is just fogged out. So like, how can you focus on your goals if you're not mentally healthy? And how can you be mentally healthy if you're not physically healthy? And this was something that was like that was non-negotiable in my acquisition company. Anybody that wants to work in my acquisition, you have to work out 3 times a week on camera while we're in a meeting. It needs to be an outside workout. You can be in the gym. It doesn't matter. You need to work out. And that was non-negotiable because Marlon, you know how I am, bro. I like to protect my energy, bro. I don't want to be around that negative energy. And when I started branching out, like, man, I'm gonna have to let new energy into my life because I have to grow this business. What do I do? Well, this is it. It's non-negotiable. And I asked that question, man, because I myself, throughout my whole life, the one time I would consider myself unhealthy which is when I was 215 pounds, drinking a bottle of scotch every week or every other week. Bro, I felt like my life was just terrible. It was just going south. Nothing was going my way. I felt like the laws of attraction was like, nope, bro, we're not messing with you until you get your shit together. That's how I felt. Because even though I was going through that, I was still being a positive person. I'm like, man, there's nothing going my way. And as soon as I started doing, my Live Hard program, everything changed. Everything shifted. I closed my eyes and envisioned six figures in one deal. The shit came through in freaking 2 weeks. Ridiculous. It took me 8 minutes to accomplish that. That was crazy. Crazy. So what was that, Marlon?
I was about to say, well, you know what's interesting, right? And like this is what people forget, like the mind. And I like it because Kenya said it in the chat. He said the body is the servant to the mind. The mind ultimately is in charge. Your ability to, like our ability to manifest, our ability to create things, our ability to make life do what it is that we want it to do, that we need proof that we can do that as we start to grow this power of creation. Your body is the first thing you're working on. You're molding it every day. You're living it in it every day. You literally control your body with your thoughts, right? You manifest your arm going up when you think about it. You manifest yourself running 2 miles when you run it. The more you start to train and be intentional and say, this is what I'm going to do and do it, then when you start to add those new things that you haven't done, you've already built this belief that every time I think something, it happens. Every time I tell my body, every time I tell the world what's going to occur, it occurs.
Yeah.
People get so lost with this idea of like thinking it needs to be this grandiose thing. I mean, literally waking up, getting your ass out of bed when the alarm clock goes off and not hitting the snooze button is proof positive that you're in control. When you let the snooze button win and you lay in bed for another 40 minutes before you start scrolling on Instagram for another 20, and then you slowly roll out of bed and say, oh, I'm still tired after I just slept for 8 hours, right? Like that's all you giving up. That's an individual letting go of their power of control, letting go of consistency. You're building consistency in the wrong direction.
Yep.
Like, and if your friends aren't telling you this, if people in your life are letting you slide when you're doing stuff like this, when you're showing this sort of behavior, you got the wrong friends. Kick them out of your life faster than anything else. Like get rid of them like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Like they are not helping you grow. They are not good for you. Get rid of those people. Even if you need to go into temporary isolation, it's better to be alone than it is to be with the wrong people.
Yep.
Thanks. Yo, Marlon, what or Alejandro? I want to hear both from both of y'all. Because I have an answer for this as well. But what happens if you don't keep the promises you make to yourself?
Oh man, here the first thing I will tell you right now, you start to lose confidence within yourself. That's the number one thing for me.
Yep. I agree. I second that. I mean, it's that straightforward. You lose confidence because how can you trust? Imagine this. Like, I want everyone that's thinking about this question that Daryl just asked, like, what happens when you don't keep the promises you make to yourself? Let me ask you, if a stranger came to you, if your best friend came to you, if your mom came to you, your boss came to you, your employee came to you, and they consistently made promises. Hey, Daryl, I'm gonna cut the grass tomorrow. Hey, Daryl, I'm gonna wash your car. Hey, Daryl, I'm gonna put gas back in the car. Just let me borrow it. Hey, Daryl, I'm gonna show up tomorrow at 8:00. And they never followed through on any of those promises. Would you continue to have trust in that person? Would you have faith in that person?
Nope.
You wouldn't have any trust or faith in them. So when we're doing it to ourselves, why would it be any different? If I'm breaking the promises I make to myself, why would I still continue to trust in you? So when you start saying, well, I just got to think positive. Yeah, but if you're not, you can't. Here's an interesting thing. It's going to be really hard to think your way out of something that you behaved your way into.
Can you repeat that just one more time, sir?
You won't be able to think your way out of something that you behaved your way into. You have to behave your way out. That's critical. When you get back to neutral and you regain your trust with yourself, then you can begin to let the power of thinking and the power of thoughts really work in your favor. However, thoughts alone won't do it if you're not acting on those thoughts. You need to act on those better thoughts. You need to behave your way out of your situation that you behaved your way into.
So, one thing too. So, I actually got this from a Brad Lee course, his sales training course, and he talked about just that, right? Because one of the most important things about sales and just everything, life in general, is having that confidence, right? And he talks about how you lose confidence by not keeping the promises to yourself. And one of the things that he says, if you constantly are lying to yourself, there's one thing that you need to do. Like, if you're feeling this right now, if you feel like we're talking straight to you, you need to. And this is gonna sound weird, right? It's gonna sound really weird, but go to the bathroom and look yourself in the mirror, that accountability mirror that Marlon was talking about earlier, and apologize to yourself for letting yourself down. Right? Literally say the words, "I am sorry for letting you down." And then the very next step to that is forgiving yourself. Right? You don't want to hold a grudge against yourself. Forgive yourself. And then the very most important part is you change your fucking actions and you stop lying to yourself. You stop, cheating yourself, because that's all you're doing is cheating yourself. Right? If you want to show up like this confident person and you want people to be attracted to you, you need to keep the promises you make to yourself. Right? So it's okay if you're not doing it right now. Like, if you're like, damn, like, I lie to myself every single day. Tomorrow's a new day, but you cannot continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. Cannot keep continuing to apologize to yourself just because you know that you can apologize to yourself. Like no lie, that exercise sounds really, really weird, but when I did it, I felt a weight just being lifted off my shoulders. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I highly recommend, if you are not keeping the promises that you make to yourself, go do that. Go stand in the mirror. Like stop this video right now. Go take the action.
Oh, I want to. It looks like Jay say, "Gotta stop saying Monday, next Monday." This is funny because when people ask me what I do to be consistent, and I tell them, "Hey, here's what I do," I'm like, "Oh man, that's great. I want to do that. I'll get started." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll start next Monday." That's the first indicator. I'm like, "Yeah, you're not gonna do it.
You're not gonna do it.
You're not gonna do it." Because if it was really that important to you, you will start today.
Bro, it's funny because I actually seen, like, we talked about Hormozy a lot today. I seen him. He had talked about just that, right? Like, stop pushing stuff off. Like, even so, what I do with my team now, I implemented it with my team. Like, if we talk about something in a meeting and something needs to get done, and I hear somebody say, "Okay, I'll get this done by 3:00." No, let's do it right now. Like, let's stop what we're doing and let's get it done right now. And you realize it takes 5 minutes to get done what you said you were going to get done. And if you wait till 3:00, if you wait till noon, right? If you wait till tomorrow, you're just elongating what you have to do. Just stop and do it right now. There's no time like the present. So I do that with, like, if you have people around you, like Marlon, we were talking about earlier, like you are what you tolerate, right? So if you have people around you who are constantly saying, "Yo, I'll do it right now," or "I'll do it tomorrow," "I'll do it the next day," "I'll do it a week from now, next Monday." You can't allow that. You need to tell them, "No, let's do it right now. Let's stop. Let's do it right now."
And I wanted to say something really quick. I always forget how to pronounce his name. Is it Kais?
Q.
Yeah, we were
Q?
calling. Yeah, because Q's been showing up consistently.
Man.
Yep.
So what I wanted to share with you is, how do you build confidence? So I don't know. Hopefully you guys are old enough, but I'm pretty sure everybody know about Pokemon, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you watch Pokemon, you have to, the Pokemons themselves, they have to battle X amount of times before they evolve, right? They have to go through hardship. They have to lose a few times, right? Before they evolve anywhere. So that's the same thing where, like, every time you have something difficult in your life, if you don't feel like doing it, just know you're taking an opportunity away from you from growing, period. Every single time. Marlon, like, someone told me, asked me, "Hey, what time do you go to bed?" I'm like, "I'm in bed around 8:00.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? 8:00? How do you live your life? I wake up at 3:00. right? I wake up at 3 o'clock, and then by the time it's 9 o'clock, where everyone is waking up and getting ready for work, I already completed all my tasks, majority of them. And there's sometimes, like even me being in this podcast right now, it's more important than my sleep, because this is me sharing what we do to grow with everyone, with the world. I want to provide for everyone. Marlon wants to provide for you guys. Darren wants to provide. Sam wants to provide. Sam, I'm pretty sure you could be eating some filet mignon right now with your puppies, good friends. You can be in Vegas, but he's here right now. He's here right now because that's more important. So the same thing with becoming consistent and acquiring that self-development. You have to be able to do what 99% of the human beings in this planet are not willing to do. Period. Okay. How do you build confidence? Here's how I built my confidence. I can't tell you how you can do it, Q, but how I did it is by doing a lot of stuff that people don't do. People are saying, hey, how do you wake up at 3 o'clock? Well, I didn't know that was abnormal, but I do it. Damn, man, you're crazy. All that noise here and there. Oh, I guess I'm a little bit unique. Okay, I got some confidence. Working out twice a day. How do you do it when you run so many businesses? I time block. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, okay, wow. I guess I'm a little bit unique. More confidence for me. When I have to do my outside workout, I legit. This is what David Goggins say. He say I think he kills souls or something like that.
Take souls.
He takes souls.
Yep.
So like someone says, yeah, bro, let's do this outside workout, and it starts to drizzle outside, and they're like, oh no, it's raining. It's raining. I'm gonna get sick. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'll see you later. I'll see you in about 45 minutes. Kill souls. That person, I know it. I don't have to say it, but I know that person sitting down like, damn, was I being a little B word? Was I being a little
bitch?
Wow.
I'll say it for you, bro.
What am I doing? And honestly, guys, like as soon as I discovered this new confidence, this new world of being disciplined, I got in this habit of trying to push people to do the same thing so they can be happy. I'm like, yo, hey, bro, I discover true happiness. Here's what I do. You should do it. You should do it. You should do it. And that's the wrong way to approach it. Because now that person, by not doing the things you're telling them to do, they're devaluating your value. They're bringing out that value because now they're just looking at it as something that's not important enough for them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bringing that value down and making you feel devaluated because of that. So what I did is just I continued doing it on my own. And eventually that same person that I tried to push that didn't take my advice came to me and like, hey, bro, I don't understand. Why are you so happy? Why are you so chill? Can you show me? And that's when that person took action because that person reached their bottom barrel. I cannot help someone if they're not at the bottom barrel. I cannot help someone if they don't hate themselves right now where they are. If you're happy where you are now, good for you. If you're making $5,000 a month and you're happy, good for you. I am not going to approach you and tell you how to make $100,000 if you're happy with $5,000 a month. That doesn't make you a terrible person. That doesn't make you lesser than I am. In fact, you could be even happier than I am. Who knows? But you need to find out where you need to be in life. I can tell you right now, $5,000 a month cannot provide for my family, my mom, my grandma, my future kids, future wife. That cannot do anything. If a flight gets canceled, I'm screwed. I don't have enough money to buy another one. So I don't want those stress. So I keep working. So what I can tell you guys is anytime you feel like there's an opportunity where you aren't comfortable, where you're at home and you said you were going to work out and you don't work out, just remember you're taking an opportunity of growth from yourself. And what I suggest you do is maybe just do 10 push-ups, guys. Like when you go to the gym, you don't have to go deadlifting. You don't have to lift heavy. Take the 10 pounds and do 100 of those. That's what David Goggins does, by the way. He doesn't lift, heavy. He just does. He maxes it out.
Yep.
Max it all the time. That's his quote unquote secret of getting shredded and losing weight at the same time. He's burning fat while he builds muscles.
Facts.
So That's all. That's the only homework I would give you guys is every time you feel uncomfortable or that voice is telling you don't do it today, do it tomorrow, just remember you're taking an opportunity of growth from yourself.
That's fire.
I want to do this because as we wrap up, I think it's really important that we give people the advice and action steps, right? No matter how small they may seem. And to showcase that this is like we are about what we say we're about. This is something that I learned from Hermosi. This was something that was echoed to me by Alejandro. And this is literally the homework that you guys see this big ass paragraph. This is the homework that I texted out to my entire team. And I want you guys to take this and do it for yourself. Because we do Marlon, thanks to you, me and my arch DTA team, once a week, we do a mindset Zoom now. We don't talk about real estate. We don't talk about deals. We talk about all the shit that's going on up here in fiction. So this was actually from last week. And I even told them, I was like, guys, if you guys get growth from this, don't thank me, thank Marlon and Alejandro. And this was the homework, and I want everyone to do this. So I'll just give you the most important part. This is what I told everybody on my team. Set consequences for yourself. Ask yourself questions like these. What happens if you don't win? What happens if you don't take the action? How many lives will you truly be able to help if you continue on the trajectory you're on? What does your life look like if you don't become financially free and abundant? Is your life average? Are you okay with that? Set the consequences of failure and know them outright. And they all had to report back to me what their answers were.
I love that, Sam.
Powerful.
That's fire. Set consequences.
Go take that. I think that's an amazing starting point. To your guys' point, right? Logan, and see, guys, this is what wisdom's all about. We all learn from guys like Hermosi. We learn from guys like Andy Frisella, David Goggins. We all learn from each other, right? A lesson that was taught to Logan Manzanares, I'm sure by one of his leaders, was taught to Daryl. And that is that if you are not running from something, you are running towards something. An element of running towards something is you got to know what it is you're trying to escape. So with that text, I want everyone on my team to understand what is the cost of continuing life the way that you're on right now. Write that shit down, internalize it. And I told them, know it outright. So if I asked you 3 weeks from now out of the blue, you know exactly what those answers are. Only if you know what those answers are, and only if you are absolutely freaking terrified of them coming true, will you move at a pace so fast that those repercussions will never catch up to you. That's my homework for you guys for tonight.
Love it. So, guys, let's wrap this show up. Let's wrap today's episode up. You guys are here for another episode of the Think Big podcast. Really want to say thank you to everybody that hung out in the comment section. It's wicked cool seeing the show grow. I mean, the first time we did an episode, I think we had like 5 people on. Today we had like over 30 of you hanging out in the audience. And I think that like heavy. I mean, 30 of you hanging out with us, giving us your attention for an hour, being a part of the conversation, commenting, keeping the energy alive, and ultimately helping to grow this message. That means the world to me. So keep it up and do me a favor. Do exactly what Sam said. Do what Daryl said. Do what Alejandro said. Take this information and apply it. Don't let this have been just us talking to ourselves, because we can just hop on a phone call for this. Please take this information and apply it. Go out tomorrow and do something uncomfortable so that you can grow. Commit to a new habit. Commit to saying, you know what, for the next 2 years of my life, I'm willing to do what I need to do so that for the rest of my life, I can do what I want to do. We'll be back here next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time for the Think Big podcast. We appreciate you guys. If you got value from this, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification, and take a screenshot and tag us in this.